Hey everybody, I've been getting asked a couple of questions at my last few cons and just around on my Twitter, so I thought I would do a video response, and I don't know how many videos this is going to be. I'm going to try to get it into one, but I'm not really sure, so bear with me on this. And one of the first questions was my process, and it was pretty much just how do I do art, what the different stages are in, and forgive my hand if you keep seeing it come up. My cat's actually decided to chill out on my lap. So there's Zoe being Zoe and just deciding she wanted to hang out on my lap for a little while. So basically here is how things go as far as steps are. I start with a really crappy piece of just general Staples brand, whatever is on sale sort of paper, and I'll sketch out a bunch of different poses and things for what I want. This particular one is for a comic, so you'll actually see I have panel number 1, panel number 2, panel number 3, panel number 4, and it could be anything from just facial expressions, I mean really basic anime facial expressions, to something a little bit more developed, like where I was going to put the hands, or just how I have the character looking on camera. Now I'm hoping this is going to show up, and keep in mind these aren't all from the same piece. These are all different pieces, but I've pulled them from my folders because they're at different stages. So first thing I do is I sketch out on crappy computer paper, whatever I'm going to do. The next thing is I use ebony pencil. I loved the Stanford ebony pencil, the 14420, but unfortunately I think Stanford got bought out by Prismacolor, so I now use the Prismacolor ebonies. They come in basically the same packaging, it's just that they say Prismacolor on them. The only flaw I find with these is that you get sort of like half of whatever your order is, because at least 3 in a pack of 12 are going to break every time you sharpen them. And when I mean break, I mean the lead just comes out down to here, and you have to keep sharpening and keep sharpening. Usually I just put them in a corner, and I'll try using them with my manual old school pencil sharpener. It doesn't always work, but I try. So this is what a piece looks like when it's an ebony pencil. It's just really fine, really, really basic, very, very light lines that I can then go back. These would be the 4 Women of Firefly. And it's pretty basic. You can't see it at this point because it is so light, but all of their faces are still just circles. I've just mapped out the lines of where I want them to be. The next thing I do, my thing is sliding, is I will then go over the ebony pencil with your standard BIC. You can buy it in a 20-pack mechanical pencil. It's number 2 lead, BIC. It's as basic as it gets. I mean, I buy these at Stop and Shop when I'm there, so you don't need to have the highest end of the highest end. Save that for your other stuff. And then I start to pencil. You can see how the lines are darker here, but I'm still sort of fleshing out lines. This is actually taken from, I think, a Wolverine and Jean Grey drawing that I came across online that I think is actually from a comic book. But I saw it and it was pretty and I liked the pose, so I thought, I'll try that. So that's what that is. Then I take my smallest, usually, SP Multi-Liner or my regular Multi-Liner by Copic. They look like this. There's either the metallic aluminum tube, or then there's the metallic gray plastic tube. Aluminum tube, refillable, replaceable nib. Plastic tube, no. But if you buy the nibs, you can replace them anyway if you still haven't run out of ink. Just don't tell Copic I told you that. What do they care? They just follow me on Twitter. So usually what I'll do is, this is Bones and Booth, is you can see on Bones' hair that I've taken the 0.1 and I've just outlined her hair. I'll eventually go back and I'll do that again, but I'll use a thicker marker, not marker, pen. Usually I do a 0.7 for hair or a 0.5 depending on how big the piece is. And then clothing I do all in the 0.7. So you can just see that this is what it winds up being when you're first inking. And then it's, Julie, well, how do you get rid of the lines once you've inked, and how do you get rid of the pencil? This is why I ink with the smallest number possible, because then I then go and I get the Faber-Castell dust-free eraser. As you can see, I've almost used this one completely. They're about that big when you get them. They come in a 2-pack. You can get them at almost any craft supply store, but for some reason, Michael's in Hyannis, which is right across the street from AC Moore, doesn't carry these, but AC Moore does. I don't know why, but then again, Michael's also carries like 10 or 12 of the Copic sketch markers. So that's kind of cool, but also kind of bad. So I use these and I go over my lines and I erase all my pencils. It's pretty awesome because when you're still penciling, if you need to do a cleanup pencil and you just rub straight across the paper, you'll wind up getting a really fine line of what you want, and it's just barely visible. It's almost a ghost, and you can go back and fix, or you can tweak, or you can do whatever. But if you rub and use it like a regular eraser, it'll erase all of your pencils, even the ebony pencil, really, really well, so long as you don't go too dark and too hard with the ebony pencil. Made that mistake, don't do it, you'll wind up screwing up a piece you've been working on for 8 hours. So after I've inked and I've gone, and I'll use this piece, and I've darkened up all my lines and I've made out, you know, where I'm going to have my blacks and all that stuff, then I start to color. And this will be a good example piece. Usually I do hair first, especially if it's a dark hair. Like on this character, his hair is, oh god, R29 lipstick red, R39 garnet, R59 cardinal, and R89 crimson. So I really wanted to do his hair before I did his skin, in case I wound up going into his skin, because this is one of the problems that a lot of people with the Copic sketch markers have, and that is that their nib, unlike the originals, because with the originals, I had to reach for my original. The originals, you get the broad, medium chisel nib, and you also get the super fine. However, on the sketches, you wind up my cat is looking at my marker like, Mom, I want to play with that. You get the super brush, and you also get the smaller chiseled nib. Now, the super brush is usually what I use. If you go really lightly, you can get into almost anywhere, but you have to be careful because you can, by accident or sneeze or hiccup or something, and you'll wind up sort of bending the brush more than you should, and you'll color in more area than you really, really want to. I try to do my darkest colors first. That's a lie. I'll do a coloring demo later, but what I try to do is, if I'm going to be using dark, dark, dark red, and then I'm doing a skin tone right next to the dark red, I'm going to color where the dark red is, because I can then use the colorless blender to sort of push that dark red back to where it belongs, and then by using the skin tone over it, I can just sort of blend it in and smooth it out. So what winds up happening when I'm done is I get a finished colored piece. This one is a Nara, and you can see that she's got a bunch of different colors in her. The obi is done with a metallic gold ink, but I clearly did all of the dark colors before I did her skin tone, and before I even did her skin tone, I did the background as well, just because I didn't want anything bleeding into her skin tone. Other tools that I wind up using, I'll do in another video, but that's pretty much what my process is, where it's sketch it, ebony, then graphite pencil with the BIC, SP Multi-Liner as thin as you possibly can, what I call primary inking, then secondary inking, which is when you're going back and you're making the lines bolder, and then I start to color. And that's what I do, and I use for paper the Express It blending card. So that's my process, and I'll do another video in a minute.